kneecap. It looks like a pedal. There we go. Thank you, Red.
Bucket of water. This is a nice one. That looks good.
Oh, stop. Meg, I'm getting the vapors.
Exposed ankles.
Oh, no. You got that kneecap, though. Yo, you got a fine-looking patellar leg.
Makes me blush, my patella.
Cover that out. This would be the one that sucks to
Let me see you flex.
This is the only lower extremity splint that you will have to learn. It's called a Bulky Jones or a Roberts Jones dressing. Most of the time it's called Bulky Jones. There's a number of different ways to do this splint. Okay? This is the most common way. You're going to see, the way that I demo it is the way that you're going to do it at UCSD. But if you forfeit this, the Jones dressing, and use the soft roll, the same stuff that you used on the long arm posterior splint, you know, it was a different type of cotton than you're used to rolling. At Kaiser, we use that to do this exact same splint. But at UCSD, they use this. And this is probably in, you know, in other parts of the United States and in California, most places will use a Jones dressing. That's why they called it a Bulky Jones. Now, you can wrap the Jones dressing on full length or width. I do not do that. I tear it down in half. So I just basically, and this is not, we have enough for everybody, but some of it's been used already.
Recycling it?
So we recycle this, and that's why you guys only get one shot at this. Okay, just like the long arm posterior splint. But I want better results this time. Some of you guys really blew chunks on that long arm posterior splint. Majority of you did pretty good, but some of you guys really wasn't acceptable work, and I wouldn't let go, and I still gave you credit for at least trying. This one here, I'm actually going to give a grade 1 through 5, just because I don't know. I think when you guys get, oh, it's credit, no credit, I'll just do it. Yeah, it's got to be acceptable work, but you only get one shot. So I tear it down into 2 halves. Foot stand, okay. Real important for these, yeah, very good. The foot goes on there. The number one thing that you need to do is make sure that the knee gets to 90 degrees. Calm down. The knee gets to 90 degrees. If the knee's at 90 degrees, the ankle can get 90 degrees a lot easier. Does that make sense? Also, most of the time you're going to position her foot, okay, just between the 3rd and 4th metatarsal. That's where I want it. That's where this bar is going to rest, right in between there. The other thing she needs to do is scoot towards me. A little bit more. There you go. See how she wanted to lift up her leg whenever she did that? You didn't catch that. That's what she wants to do. Now, if you have somebody that is a pronator, means that their foot does this, then you're going to need to actually move this more, maybe over towards the 2nd and 1st metatarsal. Does that make sense? To force them into supination a little bit. Or vice versa. If you have a supinator, you can put them in, and that'll make them pronate. Got it? But the standard is between the 3rd and 4th metatarsal. Notice the bar only goes back to the metatarsals. It does not exceed that, meaning it doesn't do this. I allow the heel to drop right in front of me. I want that knee right in front of me. Got it? Now, is there any time when I won't use this? Absolutely. There are times whenever I will not use this stand. Okay? If I'm not going to use the stand, I'm probably putting some type of reduction maneuver mold into the splint. Maybe the doctor's holding the leg and I'm doing it that way. But this is typically how I would use or how I would do this cast. You will learn to wrap all splints, all casts, upside down, backwards, in weird positions, back on fire, you know, get used to it. Right now, you guys, everything's so perfect. Go ahead, I'll help you with my radial deviation, okay? But in the real life, patients are in pain, somebody's holding for you, you got a bed in the way, you know what I mean? And you're trying to wrap around things, and it gets really tricky. So this is the most standard way of doing it, but it won't always be that way. Again, knee right in front of me. Let's start with my Jones dressing. And all I'm doing here is adding bulk. Maybe.
Is one direction is more itchy than the other?
No.
So you're kind of wrapping this like web roll, like as
Kind of
as
wrapping
tight
like
as you
50%
can.
overlap. Some people say on this you can use 100%. Not tight. Very loosely. I get it up here. This is my parameter. You can make this a long leg if you needed to. Not unusual to do a long leg bulky Jones. I'm going to go ahead and tear this off. Normally, you guys may not want to do this. Just keep wrapping it around just because we're going to reuse this. And it gets really tricky to reuse because you're going to wrap web roll on top of this to compress it.
How far past the toes you know?
I'm all the way past it.
It's like wearing a cloud.
Yep.
Right to the edge.
Yep. Now, this is part of the rest, ice, elevation, compression, the RICE. You're compressing. The main purpose of this is to compress more than anything else. Why?
Eliminate swelling.
To reduce swelling. Absolutely. So I put my web roll on. I don't wrap my web roll like I normally would. You know how I normally hold it way out here? With this, I actually hold it to her, and you hear me compressing that? I'm actually compressing the dressing. Now, if my web roll tears, perfect, doesn't matter.
Pressing and pushing to create tightness, right?
Yeah. Pushing it on her. I mean, look at the difference
Wow.
right there. You have to start over, no big deal. This is a properly applied bulky Jones. Now you will see exactly what I showed you, where people just wrap it like they normally would wrap their web roll. And that's okay, but it's not the real way of doing it. Got it? Now, my second layer, I will wrap it like I normally would. So your web roll can do a pretty decent job of compressing. And you don't even need a splint. I can actually, with how tight this is on her, I can take her off the stand and it'll pretty much hold position, at least for a little while. Now that I got that on there and it's compressed, another variance, the plaster splints. Now, a number of different ways to put your plaster splints on there. You will see all of us do it a number of different ways. The orthotechs I work with, a lot of them will do a posterior splint and then a cooptation splint, a double cooptation splint, just around the heel. Now that's fine if I'm trying to reduce an ankle fracture, I may do that. But most of the time I do not. Okay? So I'm going to show you the way I do it, and then I'm going to tear it down real quick and show you the other ways you can do it as well. Got it? The two most common ways.
Can you use struts?
Yeah, that's the way I do it, is I use struts. But anyhow, the way I do it is like this. So you got 5x30 splints, and they're 5 layers thick, right? Bless you. So now I'm 10. Probably more like 8. One was thin. This is 5. For just your most common bulky Jones, this is the way that I would do it.
Is this the way you're going to have us do it tonight?
Yes. Regardless, both ways to do a bulky Jones will have this posterior splint. Now, I won't even try to put it up here because it'll probably fall. So I get my next splint in line. Now this is the one that you can do with struts. Now some people will use 2 different splints. Again, I do this technique where I fold it in half. I fold it under. This is the only splint that I actually fold because it makes the toe plate a little bit thicker, which is the weakest part of this whole splint. Then, here's my struts. You have to capture the metatarsal heads. If you do not do that, you will not hold 90 degrees. Got it? That's exactly how I do mine, then I put an A-strap over top.
So that's right at the base of the toes.
I made that look way easier than what you guys are going to do. You guys are going to struggle. This thing's going to start falling down. You're going to have, it's just going to be nightmarish. So that would be, and I would take her off the stand before it dries. I do not want an imprint of the stand in the plaster. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other way of doing it
You said metatarsal heads. Is that like the base of the toes? Like at
Yes.
the top of that ball foot?
the metatarsal heads,
The
where
grab
you
that
push
ball.
off on.
Yeah.
The other way of doing it is to do this. So you put one this way, and then another one from here to there on that side. Does that make sense?
From here to there?
From here, see how this one's higher on this side?
Mm-hmm.
I would just start the next one here, and it'll go lower this side. So down here, it's 10 layers thick.
Same thing.
Mm.
Exactly. And this way, when you have the splint like this, you can actually put molds on the heel and that kind of thing that will help hold it up or hold the bone in place. Got it? But again, most of your bulky Jones, they should support the metatarsal heads. And the reason why you're going to support them because you can hold 90 degrees. I just demoed this splint 3 times in the amount of time that I have.
Yeah.
Is that just like contour to the back of her heel?
Yes. Get her off the stand. Now, you can also make it look nicer. You can add another A-strap. I didn't want to make it too tight. Again, going through here, making sure. I still got plenty of time. This is doubled over. This is 20 layers thick right here out by her toes.
Is it supposed to be that long under the toes?
You want it to support the toes.
Okay.
It doesn't have to stick out further. Got it. I think it just kind of slipped down a smidge in the back and kept coming forward just from all the times.